Hello everyone, I'm Corey and we're talking Manpower. Today we're continuing our conversation with Mr. J. Aronowitz. He's a retired SES and the former Deputy Assistant Chief of Staff G1 for civilian personnel. Mr. Aronowitz, thank you again for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Corey.
Has your view of a manpower analyst changed now that you're retired and you're not kind of in the wars every day, so to speak?
If there's been any change, it's to realize how important manpower and manpower analysts are, again, to solving the challenges that we have today, and we're going to have, over the next, several iterations of the POM process. There are, constraints on the size of the Army. And so, again, as I talked about the trade-offs between soldiers, civilians, and contractors, and capabilities, how can we maximize the capability that we can provide our leaders and combatant commanders with those capabilities and those workforces, given the constraints that we have? And so it is about the manpower analysts doing the analytical work and the underpinnings behind the COAs, the courses of action to provide leaders, working with our financial management community personnel and CP11, and also along with the civilian side of the house with regard to flexibilities. We need much more flexibility with regard to our civilian workforce going forward. So again, it's an increased appreciation for how important manpower analysts are for solving the challenges that we're going to have going forward.
So let's focus a little bit on leadership and mentorship. I know that you're a big proponent of both of them. And you spoke in the previous segment about mentorship. So what's your idea? What is your idea of mentorship, and what makes a good mentor?
Well, first of all, as I mentioned, mentors are absolutely essential with regard to helping develop folks and provide them wisdom and guidance with regard to their career. What constitutes a good mentor? I've had several mentors throughout my career. They've all been informal. I've never participated in a formal mentorship program. And these were individuals who either approached me or I approached with regard to the mentorship relationship. And for those who approached me, for whatever reason, it's something that they saw within me, and thought that I could be challenged and do more than what I was doing at the time. And so recommended that, one, I volunteer for projects that they were aware of that were coming up, or recommended that I seek a developmental opportunity with a organization or team that, again, they thought would help to and develop me. And also just provide guidance with regard to decisions to make that would impact my career. And so the relationship was a little bit flipped with regard to them being a little bit more proactive in my own development than even I was at the time. For those that I sought out, they were typically leaders who I had a lot of respect for with regard to their leadership style, their ability to form wonderful teams, great teams, and how they really treated their individuals, their employees. And so I approached several of these over the course of my career and just asked them, would they consider being a mentor? And in all cases, they accepted to do so. What makes a good mentor? Again, it's someone who can see within you that you've got abilities beyond where you're at today, and really seek to put you in a position of being challenged and move up, acquiring new skills. Someone who really has your best interest And again, because it was an informal relationship, it was more easier because it wasn't a forced relationship.
Is a mentor then somebody that'll give you kind of like honest and frank advice and kind of listen rather than just saying kind of what you want to hear? You know, like, for instance, if you give a bad briefing and you go to them and say, oh, you know, how can I improve my briefing skills? And, you know, you're a notoriously bad briefer, but they're just saying, oh, well, no, you're doing okay. Is a mentor somebody that's going to give you that kind of frank advice that might kind of go against kind of what you think sometimes?
That is exactly the type of mentor that you want. And in my case, and I think in most cases, that's exactly what you get. I know that there are some folks who seek to have an individual in their chain of command to be their mentor, or somebody outside the chain of command, and that's really the first decision that you've got to make, whether you think that the relationship can work within your rating chain or not.
So let's switch gears here a little bit and talk about leadership. What is your leadership philosophy?
Well, my leadership philosophy is fairly straightforward. It's to be authentic, be approachable, develop the talent that is entrusted to you, and to always seek a win-win in every challenge or issue that you're working.
In that developing talent piece, is that kind of even developing the talent, even if you know that, let's say you've got somebody who does a very, very good job, but you see a lot of potential in them, is that sometimes encouraging them to move on, even though it might hurt your organization that you were leading in the short term, because you know that they're going to go on and they're going to develop and they're going to be able to progress in their career?
That is a key requirement of being a leader, is developing your talent. And I have to tell you that every one of my employees that has left my organization and moved on, sometimes for a lateral to pick up a new skill set or promotion, that tells me that I did my job as leader, because it really is about preparing individuals to continue to move up in their career. It's not about you as an individual. It's not about necessarily the organization. I know it's a tough thing to hear, but it is about developing your employees. And let me talk about just one in particular who will remain anonymous. But I brought this individual into my organization in Washington as a GS-12. She was the lowest ranking individual by grade in the organization. But she had a skill set that I thought was essential to develop and grow and to move the organization to the next level. We sent this individual off to get a master's degree, so she was out of the organization for 18 months. She was promoted twice. She left my organization to work somewhere else, and then was selected for senior service college, but came back to work for me in the subsequent organization that I was in. And so I was able to grow and develop this talent to see it move on, to help move her career further along. And then she ended up coming back to work for me as a GS-15 to help to continue to develop and grow the organization that I was in at the time. And so you've got to understand that this is an Army resource. It's not my resource, or it's not the organization's resource. So it is about developing the talent that is entrusted to you.
Well, everyone, that's all we have time for today. Our conversation with Mr. Aronowitz will continue on Monday. Until then, have a great Army Day.